Okay, here is the diagram of a refrigeration system. It's called a trainer. It is important to have a starting point. Even in real life, whenever you're facing a operating unit or you're troubleshooting it, always find a starting point, okay, to trace the system. It is a good idea to start on the compressor.
Oh yeah.
This one. The compressor will have two connections. Always start on the discharge side of the compressor where the refrigerant is moving away from the compressor. Okay? Here is the discharge side or the discharge line, and here is the suction line. The way I would like to explain this is refrigerant starts in the compressor and leaves the discharge side or the discharge line. The refrigerant would be in gas form, remember? Gas in, gas out. So the refrigerant, it'd be in gas, or you could say vapor. The temperature would be high because it got compressed, and the pressure would be high because it got compressed. So high pressure, high temperature gas leaves the compressor. It will go through this red piping here. Follow it along. It would hit this white box. This is a high pressure cutoff switch. The purpose of this is if the discharge pressure reach a preset point where it could damage the system, it would protect the system. This would de-energize the compressor and stop it. Okay? From the high pressure switch, the refrigerant is still on high pressure, high temperature gas, will move to the compressor discharge gauge. Okay? It monitors the actual pressure in the high side, okay, on the discharge side. From there, it would leave and move upwards, and it would hit this component called reverse cycle valve. Okay? I will explain the reverse cycle valve purpose when we reach the right point. Just to explain how the refrigerant flow, we would bypass this for now. From here, it would enter the reverse cycle valve. It would come out here as an outlet. Just follow the red painting. It would still be high pressure, high temperature gas coming down, and then it would reach this point. This point called condenser. The high pressure, high temperature gas would enter the condenser. There will be air blowing across the condenser coil, thereby removing the heat from superheat, from the sensible heat, from the product, and the heat of compression. Okay? As the heat is being removed from here, the heat is dissipated to the atmosphere. Meantime, the refrigerant is turning into high pressure, high temperature liquid. Okay. By the time it reached the middle part of the condenser, the refrigerant would all be in total high pressure, high temperature liquid form. But there are still remaining few tubes left before it can come out. That is where the refrigerant is subcooled. By the time the refrigerant leaves the condenser, it would be in total pure high pressure, high temperature liquid. Because this valve is closed, the refrigerant would move down and hit this valve. And this valve would be open, the refrigerant would flow here, it would enter this gray round thing called filter dryer. The purpose of this component is to remove any impurities in the refrigerant, in the liquid refrigerant. Past the liquid dryer, it would enter the receiver. Okay? The refrigerant would enter the receiver as still high pressure, high temperature liquid. It would all be caught over here from the top, and you can see the outlet of the receiver is lower than the inlet. So therefore, the refrigerant liquid would exit here. Okay? is still at high pressure, high temperature liquid. It will come up and then pass through this valve. It would enter this rectangular component called flow meter. We read about this last week. It would show that the refrigerant liquid is flowing through here if that metal ball is located about midsection. Okay? From the flow meter, the refrigerant would exit. This will be closed, so therefore the high pressure, high temperature liquid refrigerant would get to this point. This would be open and that's closed, so therefore it's gonna move up here. It would enter the metering device or the TXV as still high pressure, high temperature liquid. Once it's exit, the pressure and the temperature would change. It would become low pressure, low temperature, and then the phase would be semi-liquid. It's just like that spray dry, okay? The low pressure, low temperature, semi-liquid refrigerant would move down, okay? Because this is closed, it's not gonna go down there, but it would move up. It would now enter the inlet side of the evaporator. Just like the condenser, air would be blowing across the coil. Now, those low pressure, low temperature semi-liquid refrigerant will begin to boil because of the heat, okay, that is sensed coming from the load inside the refrigerator or the freezer. By the time the refrigerant reaches the middle section of the evaporator, it would all be boiled off into total gas. That is when you call low pressure, low temperature gas. But it would still have a remaining few tubing to travel before it completely exits the evaporator. So as the gas travels through the remaining tubes, it continues to absorb heat, okay, circulating from this air over here, and that is when you call superheated vapor. It would exit this evaporator as a superheated gas or superheated vapor, both still low pressure and low temperature. Okay? It would exit, pass through this valve. It would move up. This valve would be closed. It would re-enter again the reverse cycle valve. And then it would exit to the center, following the green color. It would come down. Okay? It would swing left. It is a compressor suction pressure gauge.
Low pressure side.
Okay, it would read the low pressure. Okay, the low pressure, low temperature vapor or superheated vapor would continue to move down, and it would pass this glass over here. This glass is called a sight glass. It enables the operator to see that there is no liquid passing through here. Okay. It is important because from here, it would be the entry point on the compressor. Once the low pressure, low temperature gas leaves the side glass, it would continue on, and then it would enter the compressor on the suction side, right here. And then the cycle repeats itself, okay? I showed you on the diagram, there is a boundary between the low side and the high side, okay? The high side boundary begins at the discharge side of the compressor and ends at the inlet side of the TXV. The low side boundary begins from the outlet of the TXV and it ends in the suction side of the compressor.
Good job.
How about